All right, everybody, Rob Ferretti here in South Florida, and I have yet another valuable lesson that I've learned to share with you. Right next to me, it's like a standard rental car. You can't tell where I rented that car from, but my experience sucked, and I'll tell you why. I mean, look, it's a standard Nissan Versa. Here's the thought process that I went through. I was like, look, it's whatever, it's Orbitz. Why would Orbitz use a company that's no good? Or why would they list a company that's no good? So I went online, I took the cheapest rental car, because ultimately the experience should be pretty close if you're getting the same car for less. That's what I thought. But the experience, there's a certain threshold at which that experience is worth paying for somebody else. And I'll explain why. Now, you can't smell it right now, and I know it's definitely not something that I can explain, but this car stinks of barf, throw up, boot, vomit, you know? And how did I not know that when I got it? Rob, how do you take a car that smells of vomit? Because when I got it, the guy, and I thought it was just because I was in Miami, had the AC cranking on full. So here I am getting the car with the AC cranking on full, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's probably just getting to temperature. And then it wasn't until the next morning, got in the car, and I was like, oh my God, this car stinks. And I don't know where it is in the car, I don't know how it was cleaned or what effort they took to clean it. But then when I put on my seatbelt, let's just say, I don't think that's titty sweat. Like, I can imagine that could happen. And I mean, that's pretty gross. I think larger companies would hear that and say, like, we're so sorry for that, sir, blah 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 blah. This company, I think, would just say, pound sand. And it really, so here's what happened. So I went to Orbitz, booked this car for 60 bucks for a week, which is cheap. And then after taxes and bullshit, it's, let's see what we got here. It came out to $121.10. So the $11 a day came to $54.95. And then it came out to $121.10 after all said and done. And that's fine. Like, I'm good with that if the experience is close. Now here's where they get you. Everywhere else, if you want your toll pass, you know how much that is? $12 a day. So I'm here, that's another $70. It doubles the rental. Now I go from 120 to 200, right? You want anything else? You want the insurance? Now you're up to $400. Here's where I got screwed, because I didn't know that this car, since I have an in-state license and I'm renting in-state, they now take a $1,500 security deposit, which is ridiculous for a rental car company. I've never given them more than like $350 for any rental company. I take a $5,000 deposit on a several $100,000 car. I can't imagine taking that same sort of deposit. The $1,500 deposit pretty much pays for this Maxima, Ultima, whatever. What is this thing? This is a Nissan Versa with 15,000 miles on it, and that's not a great car. And $1,500 for security deposit is ridiculous. On top of that, since I have an in-state license, they've now limited me to 50 miles per day, which, if you think about it, it's like, oh, 50 miles a day. What if I was driving somewhere? This is a car that every other rental company is going to give you unlimited miles on, but not this rental company. And the experience from start to finish, you end up at a point where you hate yourself. And I got off the plane, I went to the rental car center, then I went outside. It was nice, they had a shuttle taking you to the off-airport rentals. But once you're there, you're then stuck. And there was one person in line ahead of me, just one. Just they were at the counter, only one representative there. Other people were walking in and out, but you have no idea what they're doing. That one customer service representative was with this guy before me for 40 minutes. So I'm sitting here hating myself for 40 minutes, just being pissed off at the world that I'm waiting so long and saying this better not be the process. Now, the technology is just so antiquated at all rental car counters that, except like some of the bigger ones now are stepping it up a little bit, where you can go grab a car and bounce out. And but you go to these little companies, and I'm okay with an extra 15 or 20 minutes to save. I mean, you're talking the difference from $10 a day to $60 a day. It's for a couple $100. My time isn't worth saying like, oh, I'm so important. I've got nowhere to be. I'm on vacation, so I'll take that extra 20 minutes to save $300 or $400. Here, it wasn't really worth it. I got a subpar car. I sat in line for 40 minutes. After that, I went in line, and this guy was like $1,500 deposit, this and that. And at this point in time, I've invested so much time, I'm not going to be like, you know what, I'm out of here. Because then I'm going to have to pay for the rental anyway. Then I'm going to have to go start the whole process over again at another rental car company. So I didn't feel like that. And they picked me up at a shuttle. And if I say, you know what, screw you guys, then I got to get a cab to get out of there. So I've committed to it. I've accepted that this was going to be my rental. And the Barfmobile effectively was, I don't know if it was a punishment or not. So I went through the process. The additional charge, this could have very easily turned into a $600 rental. Just if I added all the bullshit, that the insurances, the this, the that, the toll passes, it would have been $500 or $600. And I was like, you know what, decline everything. Don't need insurance, don't need any of this. Don't need to prepay fuel, don't need any of that. What I ended up doing was just taking the car. Then I go outside, and the guy's like, all right, he's got a warehouse full of cars. It's going to be about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm like, what are you talking about, 10 to 15 minutes? Like, can you just give me anything that's available now? I don't need you to prep the car any further than it's already been prepped. Like, I'll take a dirty car. I got to do my job. And you get this, like, level of FU that is just nonsense. And even with that $1,500 deposit, they made me sign something that said I'm giving them 7 to 14 business days. That's pretty much the better part of a month to return that money to me. And if it's a debit card, it's $1,500 out of your account that you weren't expecting to have out of your account, that they're sitting on for 14 business days, up to 3.5 weeks, that they're sitting on your $1,500 for a rental that's $120. I mean, that's a little ridiculous. And everybody you talk to is just like, sign it, we don't care, can't explain anything. You're putting your shitty policies that, like, okay, maybe local people rent your cars and then do big road trips or something like that. You can't protect against that by limiting the amount of miles that locals, like Orbit shouldn't allow that. They should be like, restricted rental. Be aware that if you're doing this and you have an in-state license, warning, you're going to have to pay more money in the security deposit, and you're going to get less of a rental than anyone else that travels into this place. And that would make me go to another company. They didn't do that, and I essentially got stuck renting this car from this company. And now I got a car that smells like barf. And this could have been intentional from the guy you can't be like, can you speed it up? The guy, I'm like, look, I'll just take any car, whatever's ready. I gotta do my job. Okay, you gotta do your job. I get it now. I see how this is going. I'm now getting, essentially, arguing with people that are working there. It was just a terrible experience, but that's what you're gonna pay for, and that's what you're gonna get at these budget rental car companies. So is it worth it? And I've done the Fox Rentals, the U-Saves, all these like off-airport, like cheaper rental car companies. And virtually every time I do it, I end up kicking myself and saying, you know what, that probably wasn't worth the headache. I should have spent a little bit more. But you got to figure out where that delta is and say, at what level, at what point is it worth the frustration? Is it worth the headache to me? And I don't know, this one was a pretty crappy experience. This is a shitty car. I think I just got a full size, and this Nissan Versa doesn't really feel like a full size. Got a tire pressure light, but that could happen on anything. But it's just, I didn't get a new car. The car's got a bunch of dings and dents all over it. And ultimately, I'm in this car and having this really crappy experience. Now I gotta go drop this car off airport, get my luggage over. It's not, you'll get what you pay for. Is usually the case with rental car companies, but you have to make sure you don't get totally screwed. And with the frustrations and headaches that I have here, I would have been better off going with somebody else and spending a couple of $100 extra. So something to keep in mind. They'll beat you up where they can, and these little rental car companies, the headache, the time commitment, the the quality of car, the barf that wasn't properly cleaned up so the car stinks. Stuff like that is going to fall on deaf ears. If that was Enterprise or Hertz, they don't want those reviews up there. But little rental company off the Miami airport, you could throw whatever reviews that you want at them. They don't care. They'll find a way to penalize you and take it out of your security deposit and blame you for throwing up in the car. So, something to keep in mind when you're looking to rent cars. And I'll probably have to do a video, never take the prepaid fuel, never. The prepaid tolls usually is a waste of money as well. In South Florida, they are completely cashless tolls now, so now they're going to charge me $10 for every toll I got. Usually turn down the tolls, usually turn down the fuel, and just be careful. You gotta contact, if you think you're getting a good deal, oftentimes you may not. It's a word of advice for Rob Ferretti today. My shitty rental experience in my barf covered rental car, and it stinks. I'm telling you, this car legitimately stinks. The AC helps mask it, but if that AC is off and you get in the car, you're like, oh my god, the trunk smells like boot, everything smells like vomit, and that sucks. And that's what you get for $60 plus tax in Miami.